Every day in my hood, I try to keep my head up.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the Maurice Brown Show, and we have a very special guest on our show, this program today. You're going to love this individual. You're looking at it right now. We met each other at the International Christian Film Festival in Orlando, Florida. Had a great time down there. You are looking at CEO of Positive Nation Productions. He's an actor, he's an interviewer, he's a photographer. You just saw a video that he created most recently called I Don't Know. And with no further ado, let me introduce to you Mr. Carl Bailey. What's up, Carl? How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. After that intro, I mean, you should be my official hype man.
Well, dude, I'll tell you right now, I love the video. We only showed an excerpt of it, but we'll give people an opportunity to follow you on social media and how they can get access to your work. But the title of the video was called I Don't Know, and it's about being an African American and dealing with the culture and the negativity that we receive on a daily basis. We grow up feeling low, self-esteem just completely destroyed in so many ways. But you were asking, what do I do? And you're looking up to Christ, asking for answers. How do we navigate through this thing called life? Tell us about the video, Carl.
So, funny story. I'll make it short, but I wrote this as a song originally, right? I did it as a spoken word piece, but I originally wrote it as a song like a while back, and I kind of tabled it, and just at some point, I just felt like these things were just coming back. I won't say to haunt me, but the thing just kept, just living as an African American in this country every day. These things just kept coming up, and George Floyd and everything else in between and before and after, and I felt like I needed to put it out there, so I just called up a buddy of mine, Steve Rosenthal, and he's a great individual. He also shot this piece, and he's a sax player, and he said, "Let's do it," and so we did it, and I'm proud of that because I'm a lyricist, right? And I'm a thinker, and it was one of the ultimate ways of me expressing how I felt, but I also, in a sense, I took on a character and kind of tried to dive into how others, our experience, not just my experience, but so I just kind of felt it was necessary. I entered it into some festivals, and it won somewhere overseas and stuff like that. It was funny because I don't want to put them on blast, but I entered it into a African American festival, and it didn't get any type of anything, acceptance or anything like that. But that was cool because that's how it was, that thing about a prophet never recognized in his own country kind of thing. So
Yeah, not being recognized in your own house. That's kind of funny. The saxophonist on there was Steven Rosenthal, who did a tremendous job. He's a tremendous saxophonist. Uh, but yeah, it was a great video. At just one of reflection, thought, contemplation, a lot of different things that's going on in our society right now. But we know that with Christ, we can get through anything. And I think the walk for some, without question, in life is far more difficult than others. We met again at the International Christian Film Festival, and there were a lot of great people there. There were a lot of great artists there, producers, screenwriters, actors, comedians, recording artists, on down the line. I mean, just a beautiful experience to meet some really awesome people that are doing great things and are going to do great things. One of which was Nathan Leone, who has a film out called Grace by Night, which I think is going to hit the secular world by storm. They're going to go, I didn't know Christian film could get down like this with
Right.
truth. And that's exactly what Grace by Night does. Can't wait for that to come out. But that being said, I wanted to ask you what your opinion your opinion of the current state of Christian filmmaking is in 2023.
So in 2023, I have to say this because after attending the International Christian Film Festival, like before, um, I was a little, I was a little, like I didn't watch a lot of Christian films because they was corny. You
Yeah.
know, so corny and not inclusive. So,
Yeah.
but that's changed so much. Me and my family, like I'm in my family, I'm the guy that has to, I'm the gatekeeper. So on Friday nights or when we want to watch movies, I have to go through all of the muck and the mire to try to find one movie that we can watch that nothing is going to jump out. I got to cover my kids' eyes or ears or that kind of stuff. So we
Yeah.
found Family Camp, and that was an amazing film. And but when we went to the festival, and like films like Grace by Night, I Can, and just I am so excited. Like I got to tell you this because like I decided to act again. Like I've been behind the scenes camera stuff, and I was like I went like on a whim and I did an audition, and after that like God was like, listen, them in the shadow days is over. I got some stuff for you to do. So so I mean it inspired me that much. That's how I feel the state of um Christian film is now. It's like we have arrived. Like the world is in trouble because writer strikes. There was a bunch of garbage they was writing anyway, but the world is in trouble because we about to hit them. We about to hit them. The Holy Spirit is about to wave. Like this is what I understood when I went to the festival. Like we were not just there like participating. Like this was an assembly, right? Like
Yeah.
I felt like God was getting us all together because He's sending us out, and He was showing us, like the remnant, what was going to happen, like what He's about to do, so that we know each other and that we can be working with each other. So that I think that we are in a great position, and I can't wait for that movie. I actually been talking with the director of that film because when it comes out, I want to try to promote it, here in Buffalo, and I want to do everything I can because like that's our part, right? We have to do our part, and I'm excited about it. Cameron Arnett, and his wife BJ, like I can't even express like just like you see them and you see God, right? You see them and you see God. And so, and he takes that to the screen. So whenever you see him, it's like he's bringing his A game. And his story. But, yeah, so Google Cameron Arnett because he is an amazing individual. And BJ Arnett, they are awesome. But, yeah.
They are. They are awesome, and Cameron is one of the leaders in Christian films as an actor right now. He has an organization called Christ Over Career, and he brings his A game to everything he does. and he's bringing it for Christ, understanding that's who he's representing. We must always bring our A game because we represent the Savior of the world, and that's his mentality. I right now am in the process of building a national comedy tour of about 20 Christian comedians. It's going to hit the world here very soon. Stand by for that. It's going to be pretty amazing once we get that, all tied together. And in fact, I'm in talks with Cameron about that. We might collaborate to make it happen, but we're working on it. But long story short, the Christian world in entertainment has got to make an impact, a real impact on the world, from the United States and abroad. It's time, and it is coming. One of the things, you mentioned this a little bit earlier in our conversation about, it's not about it being corny anymore. It's not about it being non-inclusive anymore. They're more representation within Christian filmmaking that has to be identified across the board, and we can't be afraid to do that. I did a show with Cameron Arnett, Michael Patterson, Anthony Hackett, Karen Abercrombie, and Sharon Lanier, and Skeeta Jenkins, all African-American actors, about the lack of diversity in faith-based films. And in fact, it's not just about African-Americans. It's people of color, Hawaiian, Asian descent, Latinos. You go right down the line, there's a lack of representation there. And I did a show, 2 shows actually, on that. And it's the land. I think when you come out of the box and say, hey, Christian brother, hey, Christian sister, we need to have a talk. And I had a chance to talk with some of my white filmmaking compatriots about it, and they were real about it. They were like, you know what, Maurice, I didn't even think about it. I was focusing on what's happening around me, where I go to church, who's in my neighborhood, who I go out to dinner with, people that I hang with. Well, they just all happen to be white, so I figured telling a story about my world was normal, but it's not normal. That's your normal.
Right.
And and they acknowledged, you know what? I'm tone deaf. I'm not realizing the bigger picture. And the honesty that you get back from your brothers in Christ, that's the beauty. And then they started addressing certain things regarding that and try to step outside of their own box and realizing that, hey, following Christ is a plethora of different colors and experiences and social statuses and on down the line. And that's where we are starting to get to in the Christian filmmaking world, which is hugely needed. You're in Buffalo, New York right now, is where you reside. What do you think the budgeting for Christian filmmaking is going to look like in the near future? Do you see a dramatic increase in the near future for Christian filmmaking where budgets are concerned?
Let's see. I see some Christian blockbusters because I was thinking to myself when I was at the festival, right? And I'm going to talk to Marty and those guys about this because I was thinking like that festival is so inclusive and comprehensive, and I was thinking to myself, so we're all Christian actors, filmmakers, producers, writers. Like every one of us had $5 in our pocket at least when we came there, right? So
Yes.
what if we picked a project and said, okay, well, we're gonna fund this, right?
Yeah.
And then they, also you have all of this talent that's coming there. Like how do we fit people in, that kind of stuff? Because I mean, that's what the world does, right? They work together like that. So I'm like, we were all there, and we, like I said, we all at least have $5, and most of us have like say if there's a mega church, that's a movie theater right there, right? We're getting that part. We understand that part because we don't have to go to the world, right? Because they're going to be coming to us very soon because we actually have the product now because the world is starving for, like, they get garbage all day. They want some real food, right?
Yeah.
And think that they're going to start throwing their money here. Now, the question is how do we filter it? How do we keep them from taking over and infiltrating? Like I don't want to get political here, but I don't know if you saw the whole thing about something that happened on the Chosen set recently.
No, I did not. Tell us about it.
So, there was a pride flag was in the background, and they got a bunch of hoopla because one of the camera persons was, I guess a member of the rainbow community. Well, I won't say they stole the rainbow, but of the LGBTQ community.
Right.
And so they've been getting a lot of backlash about that. But my thought is this, right? So this person was, they had their flag, and there was other videos and shows about them wearing their, shirts and the flag, and it's kind of like on the set, right?
Yeah.
So the thought is, so without excluding people, how do you keep, this is always my thing, right? Because I won't work with everybody. Like even some Christians, because just because you're Christian doesn't mean their character is right, or their spirit is right.
Right.
So the thing is, when you have something that's God's, like you can't put it in the hands of everybody, and everybody can't be a part of that, because that one spirit that's divisive can spread. So my thing is, when it comes to the money, we need to make sure that there are stipulations. Like they're not getting control of this, right? So because that's kind of like how it goes with everything, right? It's like look at African American culture. It's like it's gotten pimped, so many times. Everything we do, like even the whole. I don't want to go on a tangent, but anyway, yeah. So.
Well, no, Carl, it's it's fine, and you're making some great points, and we do have to be careful about how we are. Again, we're representing Christ because the
Right.
world is watching, and we're not. Listen, we are not discriminatory. We are not throwing stones at the LGBTQ community. We're not throwing mud at them at all. We have a standard that Christ has set that we must live by.
Right.
So when we conduct our business, that's what we live by.
Right. And Christians love everyone, not just
it's yeah, it's just that simple. And I think that's one of the things that Christians going forward have to stop being afraid of standing for truth. Christ was a man that was the most innocent man. He never sinned, but they killed him because he told the truth.
Right.
He never bit his tongue. That's one thing that people need to understand about Jesus Christ. He never bit his tongue. He never did. And it got him martyred. And anyone that wants to follow after Christ runs the high risk of being martyred and castigated and put out of communities. That's when we, as the American Christian, have to decide, are we for Christ or not? And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And we move in love. We don't throw stones at people. When the woman was found caught in the act of adultery, who was set up, by the way, but when they caught her and presented her to Christ, he said, "He who is here without sin, let him cast the first stone." They all rolled out. So because we're not here to throw stones at anybody. We've all made mistakes. We make mistakes every day. None of us are perfect. But we don't glorify mistakes. We don't glorify sin. And we try to live by a standard. That's the goal. That, again, is the standard. I did not know that story about The Chosen. It's unfortunate, but I'm sure that's going to be effectively addressed by Dallas Jenkins. I've met Dallas Jenkins. He's the creator of The Chosen. He's a terrific man. He's a man of God. So I'm sure he will address it. I think that you mentioned mega churches. One of the things that I think that is readily available to Christian filmmaking are mega churches. There's so much. I love what you just said about the fact that we don't have to go to the world. There is so much money available in the Christian church alone. If you, in fact, looked at of I'll just throw 5 to 8 mega churches out there. I could throw more out. I'll just throw 5 to 8 of them out there. They've got more money than a lot of people have in Hollywood in film studios. There's tons of money. And getting the Christian church to support family friendly Christian Christ honoring entertainment is highly needed, Mr. Bailey. And it's just not being done nearly enough. The funds are there. They're just not being given to the entertainment world, and as far as Christian filmmaking is goes, or Christian entertainment, on down the line. It's there. So that's something that needs to be addressed and looked at, because there's enough money in the Christian church to fund superb films in the Christian world. And I mean on a level par with Hollywood.
Yes.
The world is not going to go to a Christian film if you don't get great screenwriters, if you don't get great actors, if you don't get great cinematography, if you don't get all the things that are required to produce a quality film. The world, just from that standpoint alone, is not going to go. And then you have to have the type of screenwriting that deals with reality and really bring that thing out. There's so many stories in the Bible, Carl, that if we really threw a budget at, would blow your socks off. Just to take a couple of stories. There are thousands of stories in the Bible that'll blow your socks off if you just got to produce it right. You know, not to mention all the other things in life, the testimonies that have brought the lost to Christ. You know, you were talking about the rainbow community, and I was watching a young lady who was talking about the fact that Christ had to bring her, make her realize that she was created to be a woman, not a man. And she gave her testimony.
Yeah.
I mean, I just take that subject right there and make a movie and blow your socks off. Yeah. So bottom line is, we just got to look at the funds that should be given to Christian entertainment to come from the church. But I digress. I'm not going to get off on a tangent either, Carl, but I did want to throw that out. I want to talk about Positive Nation Productions, which you are the CEO of. Tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay, so let me tell you the origin of the name, because that's a testimony in itself, right?
Yes, sir.
So when I was in college, I had a best friend, one of my best friends. His name was Harry Adams. I met him in Beaumont, Texas. You know, great guy. This guy was like all-American everything, and he was not only was he an athlete, he had an amazing personality. He was a bright light. This man could walk into the room and you would just like his smile was like a kiss from the sun, right? He was just that kind of brother. People loved him. Just that was natural. He didn't have to do any work to do anything. And unfortunately, he was murdered out in California.
Okay.
So while I was in college, this happened. And so I was taking this course. I remember it was like one of those, I can't even remember the name of the course. But anyway, I had to do a speech. And I wrote a speech about gun control. And I was basing it on him. And in between that, one of my cousins got killed in Detroit, in Flint, Michigan. So almost on the anniversary. So I went, to the funeral, came back, I wrote the speech, yada, yada. And if that wasn't enough, like the third thing was one of my friends got shot, right? And this was in Buffalo. And I went there to see if he was okay. I went to check on him because I had been feeling him in my spirit all day, right? So I went there, and his brother told me that he got shot, but he didn't tell me he lived. He just told me he got shot.
Okay.
Walked all the way back to my school, mad, just wishing that somebody would just say something to me so I could unleash all of this, right?
Yeah.
Put this note on the door to my roommate, telling him, "Don't disturb me. I'm in the midst of an emotional breakdown." That's the drama in me, right?
Yeah.
And, slept for 14 hours. While I was sleeping, I had this dream about my friend Harry. I was on a bus. The way I'm facing you, I was facing the outside window. And this bus was going, and I was sitting in the seat right by the door, and I saw him outside the window. Door open. He came on the bus. I rushed him and I started telling him all of this stuff about, like, man, where you been? Like, we supposed to be doing all of this stuff. And I started trying to catch him up on everything. And he just was looking at me with that smile and he just waited for motioning for me to sit down. I sat down. He sat down across from me and I'm just going and going and going and telling him everything, everything, everything. He never said a word. We went 3 stops. He got up and got off the bus. And I was like, where you going, man? We got stuff to do when, I'm going this. The door closed, and while the door was closed, and he said, you can go on now. And I was like, what? And then he was like, you can go on now. So then I woke up. I was sitting in my room. I sat up, and I saw what I thought was him at the door saying to me, you can go on now. So I started trying to search, and I asked God, like, what does this mean, right? And then he gave me this thing where he said, listen, you have all of these negative thoughts that just keep bombarding you. So you need to come up with a system. So he gave me this system. He said, every time I have a negative thought, I have to think of one positive thought. That's to level the playing field. And then I have to think of another positive thought to take it into realm of positivity, or I'd say godliness, right? So
Okay.
from that, when I was in school, someone asked me to do a job, a DJ job, because I DJ, right? And they said in order to pay me, I had to be a DBA.
Okay.
So I didn't have a DBA, and I asked God for a name, and He gave me Positive Nation Productions. So, hence the name.
Well, that's an interesting origin of Positive Nation Productions. It's a very poignant story as well, and it's an unfortunate recurring theme for a lot of African American men, young African American men, and an unfortunate recurring theme. But you've got your company up and running, and tell us a little bit about some of your content.
So, as you mentioned, I'm a photographer also. I'm also a filmmaker. So I'm in the process actually of doing a couple of shorts. I got like God has always been just giving me things like I find out, like, Proverbs is my book, right? So I love the book of Proverbs. So a while back, God just started giving me all of these ideas. Like every verse I would look at in Proverbs, I would come up with a story, right? So, I mean, a story, not just what it was based on, but a story related to it. So I started writing these things down. And so now I'm working on just kind of fulfilling some of that and telling some of these stories that I've written. I have one that I'm working on now called Gratitude. And basically, it just talks about how unforgiveness and just having a negative attitude can affect your physical health and the relationships in your life.
And it can, a negative attitude can destroy you, and that's where a lot of illnesses derive. In fact, if you looked at the word disease and you cut it in half, the suffix dis, which means no, and then the word ease, ease, which means peace, and disease means no peace. That's exactly what disease means, no peace. And a lot of people are upset, they're angry, they're confused, they're holding on to grudges, won't forgive, all on down to the line. And if you look at the fruits of the Spirit, they are diametrically opposed to all those negative emotions.
Right.
And then we come back to Jesus Christ. Healing, peace, love, joy, self-control, all those things. You got to go to Christ, man. You want peace of mind, you got to go to Christ. And He'll give you those things. And you'll find that a lot of your general health will greatly improve. It just comes down to your outlook on life. That's what puts a lot of people in an early grave, Mr. Bailey. You're 100% spot on. So we just need to understand that. What are some of the current projects that you're working on that we can expect to see in the near future coming up on the horizon?
So that short called Gratitude. I'm also working on one called The Brothers, which is basically it's about I used to belong to this men's ministry, and it was like one of the greatest places of refreshing that I had. And it's defunct now. One of the leaders passed away, but so it's about how brothers have to encourage each other. And one brother is going through something. I won't mention the whole thing because I'm going to do the film, but and these other brothers come together and just uphold him and just help him to find his way back to God. So, yeah, and I'm working on I got a series that I'm writing on Proverbs called The Wisdom of Solomon, and I won't tell you too much about it, but basically it's like kind of what I told you. I wrote all of these stories around Proverbs, and the main character goes around, and he's kind of like an angel type figure. So I'm thinking about talking to Mr. Arnett about that when I get a little more inked out, because when I met him, sometimes when you see people and it's like it triggers something. Like when I was writing this, I had an image, and when I saw him, I felt like I met the guy that I had, wrote that I was writing this stuff for. So yeah, so those are some things I'm working on.
Man, I love it. I love it. Talking with Carl Bailey, CEO of Positive Nation Productions. He's an actor, he's a photographer, he's an interviewer. How can fans follow you on social media or by website?
So I'm going to tell you the website, positivenationproductions.com. You can see a little bit of what I do on there, my company, what it does. Also, there's links to some of my photography. I'll be putting more of that up there. I'm also on Facebook, Carl Bailey. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like I don't really have time to be on social media like that. So if I started trying to tell you all of this, I have Twitter. I think it's at DJ Poz1, DJ POZ1. But I'm not on there enough for you to even be thinking about it. I also have a YouTube channel, but that's at DJ Poz1 as well. And you can find a link to that video. I'll probably put it on my Facebook page as well. But yeah, that's it. But positivenationproductions.com, basically you can.
I love it. Carl Bailey on the Maurice Brown Show. I want to thank you, Carl, for being on the show. And if you are just coming in late and you missed it, hey, it's all good. Don't worry about it. You can watch the replay on Facebook and YouTube. You can also listen to this interview in its entirety on Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, Radiocast, Pocket Cast. It's there. And where all major podcasts are heard, you can listen to this interview with Carl Bailey, photographer, actor, and interviewer, Carl Bailey, and also CEO of Positive Nation Productions. Carl, it has been a treat to talk with you. Like I said, we met at the International Christian Film Festival this past May in Orlando, Florida, at the Wyndham Resort Hotel. It was a great time that we all had there, just chopping it up with future entrepreneurs and producers, and current as well, actors, screenwriters, comedians, recording artists, you name it. Tremendous talent there. God's doing tremendous things in the Christian filmmaking world. 2023 is going to be fantastic. 2024 and beyond, I can't wait to see. And also the Maurice Brown Show, Breaking Down the Four Walls, is actually putting together a national tour, and we hope to be up and running with some fantastic comedians like Leland Clausen and Mark Christopher Lawrence, Joey Aiello, June Colson, Christy Condor, Michelle Van Dusen, Kason Wilson, Dan Simmons, Willie Brown, Valina Metcalf. The list goes on and on. tremendous comedians that are going to form this group, and we're going to knock your socks off. But that's coming your way later on in 2023. I'll give you more details later on that. In the meantime, we want to thank Carl Bailey once again for stopping by and chit-chatting with us on the Maurice Brown Show. Carl, thank you so much for your time. I hope to be talking with you again in the near future, and may the peace of Jesus Christ, sir, be with you and your family. God bless you.
As well. Thank you. God bless.